For those that question what's going on in our world, you will hear the term a lot that, oh, our political system or our economic system is broken. The morality of people is lost within what goes on in the economy, with what goes on in politics, people being corrupt and taking, advantage of other people, and thus the system is broken. But the question really is the system that we live in actually broken, or is it operating exactly the way it is designed? There's a reason why we start the CE protocol with breaking the illusion. Breaking the illusion is breaking the story that we run in our minds that believes everything that we've been programmed and taught to believe. The reason why we have to start there is because people have to begin to come to terms with the fact the system is not broken. The system has been specifically designed, from politics to the economy, all the way on down through government and other socioeconomic systems that we use, to do exactly what it is doing. Period. That's how it was designed. You have all of these different factors within the way it all functions that allows certain people to have complete and utter control over what's going on. People will look at the Electoral College, for example, in the United States and get upset because, regardless of what the people say, the Electoral College can decide who is going to be president no matter what. What does that tell you? It tells you that there are mechanisms within place, and the Electoral College is not the only one. You can start looking at the fact that certain individuals own the entire media, and therefore the entire media can shape public opinion about what's going on in the world. That's another way of controlling the way people see things, what people know, and what people understand. The system itself is not broken. The system is operating exactly how it's supposed to. So people show up every 4 years saying, now it's going to be different. We're going to go back, use the same system to vote, to get somebody new in there, to hopefully start creating some changes. And then about a year and a half after that, start complaining again that the system is broken, that there's all these problems, that we need to get in there and fix it. And that there's one candidate out there who will get in there and fix it. But that's not going to happen. When you begin looking at the way the economic system functions, those who have looked into the Federal Reserve, looked into private banking, looked into central banking, you start to understand that that system is designed to enslave the population, such that the people who created and own that system not only control government and everything that goes on within government in terms of how the economy functions and so forth, but they're also able to then control, through that very top-down pattern, exactly how wealthy people can ultimately be at the end of the day. As a whole. We're talking about as a whole here, not just a single person. So when you look at the system as it is and you don't talk about the deeper aspects of it, the way the economy functions, the way politics has all of these little hidden rules, all these hidden ways of being able to control what happens, you're left with this idea of being within a delusion, which is why step one of the CE protocol is breaking the illusion. Because as harsh as this might sound, you showing up at the voting booth means that, and expecting change, means that you're operating under a delusion. And I know that's hard, and some people are going to say, well, that's cynical. I think it's incredibly inspiring, because the moment humanity wakes up to the reality that the actions we're currently taking are not actually creating a new or an evolved or a transformational driven world, but they're actually just holding the same old systems in place, the moment you realize, hey, we can do something different. But if we're still operating under the delusion that voting is going to do something, that playing within this clearly designed system for control and enslavement, there's nothing broken about it. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The moment you realize that, you go, oh, maybe we should start thinking about playing a different game. So people then say, okay, great. Joe, what do you suggest? Where do we go from here? Well, here's the first step. The system as it is, politics, economy, and so forth, matches a level of consciousness that we've been operating in for a very long time as a collective. What does that mean in simple terms? The way we think, the way we see the world, the way we believe the world needs to function, what we believe about ourselves and who we are, is ultimately helping to create the system that exists today. When people start saying we need to get a spiritual leader in there and changing the way politics works and changing all this sort of stuff, it's like saying, what I want to do is I want to take this existing operating system and it runs for Windows, and I want to install that in a Mac. And it's like, that's not going to happen. You can't run a new system of transformation, right? You can't bring a new state of consciousness and change the old system. You have to walk away from that old system and use hardware that matches the new level of consciousness that we're evolving into. People are feeling that the system doesn't work anymore. The word we're providing is it's broken. But all that's saying is it doesn't match the feelings that we have emerging within us that state we don't want to keep playing this game. And because we're not open to the possibility, because we don't believe that anything else is different, because we keep believing the illusion that we need to do it through the system, we need to keep using our current system of politics and economics to solve the challenges that we face, the feelings that we have deep within us that says, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel good. And everyone's saying, yeah, just keep voting, keep bringing a new leader, that'll happen. It's not going to work. We need to match the operating system of what's emerging within us, which is a completely different state of consciousness, to a new system, a new reality. And the way we're going to do that is by starting to show possibility, starting to realize that we don't need to think in terms of what the old system has told us. Step 3 of the CE protocol is deprogramming limits. So you have an old state of consciousness that has created an old system, and though that old system has taught us a lot of things. It's shaped the way we think, what we believe, what we think humanity is, how we have to operate. And the more we stay within that, the more we think, oh, okay, yeah, well, when we're creating a new system, we still got to believe all these old things about the old one. No, it's about wiping that slate clean, getting back into your heart, getting back into full potentiality, full possibility within yourself. This is an internal journey, and this is why we mix personal transformation with current events, because they're all one. It's all the same thing. I see a lot of spiritual people thinking this is all just about spirituality, and as soon as they look at the system at hand, they're like, oh, we got to keep voting, we got to keep doing this. Oh, we just need a spiritual person in place. The illusion's not broken. They're still at step 1 of the CE protocol. Yeah, they might meditate. Yeah, they might do these amazing things and awaken this potential within them, but they're still under the delusion that the system is just supposed to be that way. And it's not. We don't need to fight the old system. We need to walk away from the old system. And part of what's doing that, and this is what we're going to start doing here a lot at Collective Evolution and a lot on CETV, is starting to show the possibility. Examples. For example, the free energy, right? People will look at that and think, well, this is crazy. Well, energy is a huge aspect of our entire world and a huge aspect of our entire system. From a very simplistic point of view, this is one of the big things that everyone wants to solve right now. You have climate change. We need to get rid of fossil fuels, move towards renewable technologies, wind, solar, geothermal, the list goes on. The reality of the situation is people only think that that's what we need to move to because, one, they're trying to maintain the economy. They're trying to figure out how to get jobs to maintain as the way they are. And they think that those are the only technologies that exist. But then I look at it from my point of view and I say, well, I've already seen and experienced these free energy technologies, however you want to describe them. I've seen them working. I've spoken to the inventors. I've been there, done that. So I know that they exist. The government's not telling people that they exist, so they don't believe that it's possible. And therefore, people are stuck in believing that we need to do things to maintain the old system. When in reality, we could start saying, well, energy is something we need to solve, so is the economy, so is all these other things. Well, we're currently in a specific system that's very complex, that involves the entire world, that involves many, many different facets of what's going on. However could we solve that? The reality of the situation is there is absolutely no shortage of solutions, and there's no shortage of brilliant people that can make this happen. The difference is we need to stop talking about fixing the old system and start looking at the possibility that's there, having conversations about it, and bringing together the brilliant people and the various minds out there that can start to figure out how we can transition from this old system that's working perfectly, because it is, that's how it's supposed to function, to a new world where people know of the stuff that's available, they know of the possibility that's there, they're not being lied to, they're not being manipulated, and they're not being told that we have to live the way we're currently living. The moment those conversations start to happen, the moment you see an influential figure out in the world, like politics, talk that way, the moment you're going to get my attention at least. And I'll be like, yes, this is someone worth listening to. There's other people within the political candidacy right now in the United States who are saying some great things. But it's primitive in comparison to where we really need to be discussing. And all it is you need to give yourself the permission to start looking at the world that way. When push comes to shove, are you willing to let go of what's going on here? So As I cap this off, the reality of the situation is this conversation is not complete. It's not finished. It's easy to go and comment and say, Joe, you're crazy. This sounds like a utopia, la-di-da-di-da. No, what I'm presenting is something you can feel within yourself is the way forward. It's what we need to do here. We need to begin having conversations that are not limited by the confines of the old system. You see politicians out there trying to smash a square peg into a circle hole, like trying to smash it. That's great ideas into the old system. It's not going to fit. It'll never fit. But they're still trying to have that conversation instead of saying, the elephant in the room here is this doesn't work. Let's take these ideas. Let's start having a deeper conversation about how we can do this and move forward. Because people will solve this. It's not an issue of solving it. It's the fact that people don't think they're allowed to have that conversation. They don't give themselves permission. The media doesn't give them the permission. People are just saying, well, that's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work in the old system because the old system's not designed for thrivability. It's designed for enslavement. So instead of trying to play within that old system, go to the voting booth and say, I consent to this old system. I'm suggesting let's walk away and let's start having conversations that allow us to actually talk about this in a bigger way. We create a culture of conversations for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it takes. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to have 2-3% of the population show up to that voting booth. But if we don't start the conversation and we don't give ourselves permission to believe, and we instead allow that little monkey mind to tell us, you're crazy, this is not going to happen, the whole world would never go for this, the more you keep consenting to this old system. The choice is yours. It's the reality of the situation.